I never expected to find my father standing on my doorstep, suitcase in hand, on a quiet Tuesday evening. But there he was, Paul Anderson, looking every bit like a lost puppy, his silver hair disheveled and his kind eyes brimming with unshed tears. "Emma, sweetheart," he said, his voice cracking. "I'm sorry to barge in like this, but I didn't know where else to go." I ushered him inside, my mind racing. "Dad, what happened? Is everything okay?" He set his suitcase down in the entryway, shoulders slumping. "Your mother and sisters. They've kicked me out." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. I'd known things were tense at home, but this was beyond anything I'd imagined. "Nathan," I called out, my voice wavering. "Can you come here, please?" My husband appeared from his studio, paintbrush still in hand. His eyes widened as he took in the scene. "Mr. Anderson? What's going on?" I turned to my father, who seemed to shrink under our concerned gazes. "Dad, why don't you sit down and tell us what happened?" We moved to the living room, and I perched on the edge of the couch, my stomach in knots. Nathan sat beside me, a steady presence, while my father lowered himself into the armchair with a heavy sigh. "It's been building for a while," Dad began, his eyes fixed on the floor. "Your mother, Laura, and Alice. They've been making life difficult. But today they told me to leave. Said I wasn't welcome anymore." My fists clenched involuntarily. "They can't do that. It's your house too." Dad shook his head. "It's not worth fighting, Emma. I need a place to stay for a little while. Until I can figure things out." I glanced at Nathan, silently pleading. He nodded, understanding without words. "Of course you can stay here, Dad," I said, reaching out to squeeze his hand. "As long as you need." Relief washed over his face, but it was quickly replaced by guilt. "I don't want to be a burden." "You're not," Nathan assured him. "We're family. We take care of each other." As Nathan helped my father settle into our guest room, I sank back onto the couch, my mind reeling. How had it come to this? My mother and sisters had always been difficult, but to throw Dad out of his own home? The phone rang, startling me from my thoughts. I answered without checking the caller ID, a mistake. "Emma," my mother's shrill voice pierced through the receiver. "Is your father there?" I hesitated, torn between honesty and protecting my dad. "Why do you want to know?" "Don't play games with me, young lady," she snapped. "If he's there, tell him to come home right now." We weren't serious about kicking him out. We just needed to teach him a lesson. Anger bubbled up inside me. A lesson? By throwing him out of his own house? "That's cruel, Mom, even for you." "Don't you dare speak to me that way," she hissed. "You have no idea what goes on in this family. If you'd bother to visit more often, I visit plenty," I interrupted, my voice low and steady. "I see exactly what goes on. Dad's staying here for now, and that's final." I hung up before she could respond, my hands shaking. Nathan appeared in the doorway, concern etched on his face. "Everything okay?" he asked softly. I shook my head, feeling the weight of years of family drama pressing down on me. "No, it's not. But we'll figure it out. We have to." As I leaned into Nathan's embrace, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. A storm was brewing, and our little family was caught right in the middle of it. The next morning, I found Dad in the kitchen, fumbling with our coffee maker. His shoulders were hunched, a stark reminder of the weight he carried. "Here, let me help," I offered, reaching around him to press the right buttons. As the machine whirred to life, I caught a glimpse of his tired eyes. "Did you sleep okay?" He nodded, but his smile didn't reach his eyes. "As well as can be expected, I suppose." "Emma, I can't thank you and Nathan enough for taking me in like this." I squeezed his arm. "You don't have to thank us, Dad. We're family." As we sat at the kitchen table, steaming mugs in hand, the memories I'd tried so hard to suppress came flooding back. The shouting matches, the cruel words, the constant feeling of walking on eggshells in my own home. "Do you remember my 10th birthday?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Dad's face fell. "Oh, sweetheart. I wish I could forget." I could still hear Mom's shrill voice, berating me for wanting a frivolous party. Laura and Alice had joined in, mocking my childish desires. But Dad had sneaked into my room that night with a cupcake and a single candle. "You told me to never stop dreaming," I said, fighting back tears. "That I was special, no matter what anyone else said." Dad reached across the table, clasping my hand in his. "And I meant every word. You've always been my bright spot, Emma." The moment was shattered by the shrill ring of the doorbell. Nathan appeared in the doorway, his expression wary. "It's your mother and sisters," he said quietly. My stomach dropped. I turned to Dad, seeing the fear in his eyes. "You don't have to see them if you don't want to," I assured him. He shook his head, squaring his shoulders. "No, it's time to face this." As we made our way to the front door, I could hear the muffled voices of Mom, Laura, and Alice. Nathan squeezed my hand before opening the door. Mom burst in first, her eyes wild. "Paul, there you are. It's time to come home now. This little tantrum has gone on long enough." Laura and Alice flanked her, their expressions a mix of disdain and feigned concern. "Really, Daddy," Laura cooed. "You're being ridiculous." I stepped in front of Dad, my voice steadier than I felt. "He's not going anywhere he doesn't want to go." Mom's eyes narrowed. "Stay out of this, Emma. This is between your father and me." "No, it's not," I shot back. "You kicked him out. You don't get to decide when he comes back." Alice scoffed. "Oh, please. Like you know anything about what goes on in our family. You're never even around." The words stung, but I held my ground. "I'm around enough to see how you treat Dad, how you've always treated both of us." "That's enough." Mom snapped. She turned to Dad, her voice softening to a sickly sweet tone. "Paul, darling, let's go home and sort this out." I felt Dad's hand on my shoulder, gently moving me aside. He faced Mom, his voice quiet but firm. "Linda, I'm not coming home. Not now, maybe not ever." The silence that followed was deafening. Mom's face contorted with rage. "You ungrateful dash. I think it's time for you to leave." Nathan interrupted, his arm protectively around my waist. As Nathan ushered them out, their protests growing fainter, I turned to Dad. The relief on his face was palpable, but there was something else too, a flicker of fear. "What is it?" I asked, dreading the answer. Dad sighed heavily. "Your mother. She controls all our finances. I don't have access to anything." The implications hit me like a tidal wave. Dad was trapped, with no resources of his own. And now he was completely dependent on us. As the door clicked shut behind my family, I realized this was just the beginning of a long, painful battle. But looking at Dad's weary face, I knew it was a fight worth having. The days following Mom's visit were tense. Dad tried to put on a brave face, but I could see the worry etched in the lines around his eyes. Nathan and I were determined to help, but we weren't sure how. One evening, as we sat around the dinner table, Dad cleared his throat. "I've been thinking," he began hesitantly. "Maybe it's time I went back to school. Finished that degree I always wanted." I nearly dropped my fork in surprise. "Dad, that's wonderful. But how?" He smiled sheepishly. "Well, that's where I was hoping you might help. I know it's a lot to ask, but we'll figure it out." Nathan interrupted, his voice firm. "This is important." As we discussed the logistics, a spark of hope ignited in my chest. This was Dad's chance to reclaim his life, to build something for himself. The next morning, I woke early, determined to start researching options for Dad. But as I reached for my laptop, my phone buzzed with a text from Laura. "Family meeting at the house. Now. Don't bring Dad." My stomach churned. What were they up to now? I showed the message to Nathan, who frowned. "You don't have to go," he said softly. I shook my head. "No, I need to know what they're planning." As I pulled up to my childhood home, memories flooded back, most of them painful. I took a deep breath and stepped inside. Mom, Laura, and Alice were waiting in the living room, their faces grim. "Finally," Mom snapped. "Sit down, Emma. We need to talk about your father." I perched on the edge of an armchair, my guard up. What about him? Laura leaned forward, her voice sickly sweet. We're worried about him, Emma. He's not thinking clearly. We think it's best if he comes home, where we can take care of him. Take care of him? I echoed, disbelief coloring my tone. You kicked him out. That was a misunderstanding, Alice chimed in. We just wanted to teach him a lesson about respect. My blood boiled. Respect? You want to talk about respect after how you've treated him all these years? Mom's eyes narrowed. Watch your tone, young lady. We're still your family. Family? I shot back. Is that what you call this? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks a lot like abuse. The room fell silent. Then Mom spoke, her voice dangerously low. If you don't convince your father to come home, we'll have no choice but to take legal action. He's not of sound mind, Emma. We could have him declared incompetent. The threat hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. I stood, my hands shaking. You wouldn't dare. Try us, Laura sneered. I stormed out, my mind reeling. As I drove home, tears blurred my vision. How could they do this? How could they twist the situation so cruelly? When I burst through the front door, Nathan and Dad were waiting, concern etched on their faces. Emma, Dad asked, his voice trembling. What happened? I collapsed into Nathan's arms, the weight of it all crashing down. Through sobs, I recounted the conversation, the threat, the ultimatum. Dad's face paled. Oh, sweetheart, I'm so sorry. I never meant for any of this to happen. Nathan's arms tightened around me. We'll fight this, he said firmly. They can't do this to you, Paul. We won't let them. As my tears subsided, a steely resolve took their place. I looked at Dad, seeing the fear in his eyes, and made a silent vow. No matter what it took, I would protect him. I would stand up to the family that had tormented us for so long. Dad, I said, my voice steady despite the storm raging inside me. Remember when you told me to never stop dreaming? Well, now it's my turn to tell you. This is your chance for a new life. And we're going to make it happen, no matter what Mom and the others throw at us. The fight ahead would be brutal, but looking at Dad's grateful smile and feeling Nathan's unwavering support, I knew we could face it together. The next few days were a whirlwind of activity. Between researching Dad's college options and consulting with a lawyer about Mom's threats, I barely had time to breathe. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was still off. One afternoon, as I was sorting through Dad's paperwork, I stumbled upon a bank statement I'd never seen before. My heart raced as I scanned the document, disbelief washing over me. Dad! I called out, my voice shaking. Can you come here for a minute? He appeared in the doorway, his face etched with concern. What is it, sweetheart? I held up the statement. Dad, this account, it has over $100,000 in it. Why didn't you tell us about this? His eyes widened, a mix of shock and confusion crossing his features. I don't understand. I've never seen that account before. Nathan joined us, his brow furrowed. Paul, are you sure? This could change everything. Dad sank into a chair, his hands trembling. I swear I had no idea. Your mother always handled the finances. She must have hidden this from me. The realization hit me like a ton of bricks. Mom hadn't just been controlling. She'd been actively deceiving Dad for years. The anger I'd been suppressing bubbled to the surface. We need to confront her, I said, my voice steely with determination. This changes everything. Nathan placed a hand on my shoulder. Emma, wait. We need to think this through. If we confront your mother without proof, she could deny everything. I knew he was right, but the urge to act was overwhelming. Then what do? We gather evidence, Nathan said calmly. We build a case, and then we fight back. Over the next few days, we dug deeper. With the help of our lawyer, we uncovered a web of financial deceit that left us reeling. Mom hadn't just hidden money. She'd been siphoning off Dad's earnings for years, building a secret nest egg while keeping him financially dependent. As the full picture emerged, I felt a mix of rage and heartbreak. How could she do this to her own husband? To our family? One evening, as we sat around the kitchen table reviewing our findings, Dad broke down. "I've been such a fool," he sobbed. "All these years, I thought I was failing as a provider. But she was stealing from me, from us." I wrapped my arms around him, fighting back my own tears. "It's not your fault, Dad. We're going to make this right." Nathan nodded, his jaw set with determination. "We have enough evidence now. It's time to confront Linda and your sisters." The weight of the decision pressed down on me. This would be the point of no return. Once we revealed what we knew, there would be no going back to the way things were. "Are you sure you want to do this?" I asked Dad, searching his eyes for any hesitation. He straightened up, a fire in his eyes I hadn't seen in years. "I'm sure. It's time to reclaim my life, my dignity. No more hiding, no more cowering." I took a deep breath, steeling myself for the battle ahead. "Okay, then let's do this." As we formulated our plan, a mix of anticipation and dread churned in my stomach. We were about to confront decades of lies and manipulation. The outcome could change our family forever. But looking at Dad's newfound resolve and feeling Nathan's unwavering support, I knew we were making the right choice. It was time to expose the truth, no matter how painful it might be. That night, as I lay in bed, unable to sleep, I made a silent vow. We would not only reclaim Dad's financial independence, but also help him build the life he'd always dreamed of. The road ahead would be tough, but we were ready to face it together. Tomorrow, we would confront Mom and my sisters, and nothing would ever be the same again. The morning of our confrontation with Mom, Laura, and Alice dawned bright and clear, a stark contrast to the storm brewing inside me. As I stood in front of the mirror, adjusting my blazer, I barely recognized the woman staring back at me. Gone was the timid girl who used to cower under her mother's harsh words. In her place stood someone stronger, ready to fight for what was right. Nathan appeared behind me, wrapping his arms around my waist. "You've got this, Emma," he murmured, his voice a soothing balm to my frayed nerves. Dad joined us in the living room, his face a mix of determination and apprehension. "Are we really doing this?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. I squeezed his hand. "We are, Dad. It's time to reclaim your life." The drive to my childhood home felt surreal. As we pulled up, I saw Mom's car in the driveway along with Laura's and Alice's. They were waiting for us, just as we'd arranged. Taking a deep breath, I led our small group to the front door. Before I could knock, it swung open, revealing Mom's stern face. "Well, it's about time," she snapped. "Come in, all of you." The tension in the living room was palpable as we settled in. Laura and Alice sat on either side of Mom, a united front against us. "All right, Emma," Mom said, her voice dripping with disdain. "You called this meeting. What's so important?" I steeled myself, pulling out the folder of documents we'd gathered. "We know about the hidden account, Mom, and all the money you've been siphoning from Dad over the years." The color drained from her face, but she quickly recovered. "I don't know what you're talking about. Your father's clearly been filling your head with lies." "No lies, Linda." Dad spoke up, his voice stronger than I'd heard in years. "We have proof. Bank statements, transfer records, everything." Laura leaned forward, her eyes narrowing. "So what if Mom set aside some money? Someone had to be responsible in this family." "Responsible?" I shot back. "You call stealing from your husband responsible?" Alice jumped in, her voice shrill. "Oh, please. Like Dad ever contributed anything to this family. Mom deserves that money." I felt my temper rising, but Nathan's steady hand on my back kept me grounded. "This isn't about who deserves what," he said calmly. "It's about honesty and respect." Mom stood up abruptly, her face contorted with rage. "I've had enough of this. Paul, if you want to believe these ridiculous accusations, fine. But don't expect to ever set foot in this house again." "Mom, wait," I pleaded, desperation creeping into my voice. "Can't you see what you're doing? You're tearing this family apart." For a moment, I saw a flicker of something, regret, maybe, in her eyes. But it was quickly replaced by cold determination. "This family has been broken for a long time, Emma. And it's your fault. You and your father's weakness. The words hit me like a physical blow. I stumbled back, feeling the weight of years of manipulation and abuse crashing down on me. But then, something unexpected happened. Dad stepped forward, placing himself between Mom and me. "That's enough, Linda," he said, his voice quiet but firm. "I won't let you speak to our daughter that way anymore." The room fell silent. In that moment, I saw my father not as the beaten-down man he'd become, but as the strong, loving presence from my childhood memories. "We're done here," Dad continued. "Emma, Nathan, let's go home." As we turned to leave, Laura called out, her voice tinged with panic. "Wait, what about the money? You can't just take it." I paused at the door, looking back at the three women who had caused so much pain. "We're not taking anything that doesn't rightfully belong to Dad. The lawyer will be in touch." Walking out of that house, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. The road ahead would be challenging, but for the first time in years, I felt hope for our family's future. A future where love and respect, not manipulation and fear, would guide us. The weeks following our confrontation with Mom, Laura, and Alice were surprisingly quiet. Too quiet. I should have known the calm wouldn't last. It was a lazy Sunday afternoon when the doorbell rang. Nathan and I exchanged wary glances before I went to answer it. My heart nearly stopped when I saw who was on the other side. Mom, Laura, and Alice stood there, looking like they were ready for war. "We need to talk to your father," Mom said, pushing past me into the house. I stumbled back, caught off guard. "Mom, you can't just barge in here, dash." But they were already in the living room, where Dad and Nathan were sitting. Dad's face paled at the sight of them. "Paul," Mom said, her voice sickly sweet, "it's time to come home. We've let this nonsense go on long enough." Dad stood, his hands shaking slightly. "Linda, I've told you. I'm not coming back." Laura stepped forward, her eyes gleaming with false concern. "Daddy, please. We're worried about you. You're not thinking clearly." I felt my blood boiling. "He's thinking more clearly than he has in years," I snapped. "You need to leave. Now." Alice turned on me, her voice dripping with venom. "Oh, shut up, Emma. This doesn't concern you." "Like hell it doesn't," Nathan interjected, moving to stand beside me. "This is our home and Paul is family." Mom's eyes narrowed as she looked at Nathan. "Family? What would you know about family with your ridiculous art career? You can barely support yourselves, let alone Paul." The room fell silent. I saw the hurt flash across Nathan's face before he schooled his features into a mask of calm. But I was done being calm. "How dare you?" I hissed, stepping towards Mom. "Nathan has shown more love and support than you ever have. He's twice the family you'll ever be." Mom laughed, a harsh, bitter sound. "Love doesn't pay the bills, Emma. Your father needs to come home where he belongs, where we can take care of him properly." "Take care of him?" I echoed in disbelief. "By stealing from him? By belittling him for years?" Laura rolled her eyes. "Oh, please. Stop being so dramatic. Dad needs us." "No." Dad's quiet voice cut through the tension. We all turned to look at him. "I don't need you. Not anymore." Mom's face contorted with rage. "You ungrateful dash. That's enough." I shouted, surprising even myself with the force of my voice. "You need to leave. Now. Or I'm calling the police." For a moment, I thought Mom might actually strike me. But then she straightened, smoothing her blouse. "Fine. But this isn't over, Paul. You'll see. You need us more than you know." As they filed out, Alice turned back, her eyes cold. "You'll regret this, Emma. You can't take care of Dad forever. And when you fail, don't come crawling back to us." The door slammed behind them, leaving a ringing silence in its wake. I felt my knees go weak, and Nathan caught me before I could fall. "It's okay," he murmured, holding me close. "They're gone. We're okay." But as I looked at Dad, saw the mix of relief and anguish on his face, I knew it wasn't over. This was just the beginning of a war, and we were vastly outnumbered. "What do we do now?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Dad straightened his shoulders. a determined look in his eyes that I hadn't seen in years. "We fight," he said simply. "We fight for our family, our real family." As I looked between Dad and Nathan, I felt a surge of love and determination. We were in this together, come what may. But a nagging fear lingered in the back of my mind. How far would Mom, Laura, and Alice go to get what they wanted? And were we strong enough to withstand whatever they threw at us next? The tension in our lawyer's office was palpable as we sat across from Mom, Laura, and Alice. Dad's hand trembled slightly in mine, and I gave it a reassuring squeeze. Nathan's steady presence beside me was the only thing keeping me from falling apart. Our lawyer, Mr. Thompson, cleared his throat. "Mrs. Anderson, in light of the financial discrepancies we've uncovered, we're prepared to move forward with divorce proceedings. However, Mr. Anderson is willing to negotiate terms." Mom's eyes narrowed. "Terms? What terms?" Dad spoke up, his voice surprisingly steady. "Linda, I don't want a drawn-out legal battle. I'm willing to let you keep the house if you agree to a clean break." The room fell silent. I held my breath, watching Mom's face for any reaction. To my shock, a slow smile spread across her lips. "The house?" she repeated, her voice sickeningly sweet. "Well, isn't that generous of you, Paul?" Laura leaned forward, her eyes gleaming. "Mom, think about it. You'd have the house free and clear." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. After everything they'd put Dad through, they were actually considering this? "Wait a minute," I interjected, unable to contain myself. "Dad, you can't just give them the house. That's your home." Dad turned to me, his eyes filled with a mixture of sadness and resolve. "Emma, sweetheart, it's just a house. My home is with you and Nathan now." Tears pricked at my eyes, but before I could respond, Alice chimed in. "Oh, how touching," she sneered. "But let's not forget Daddy. You're the one who abandoned us." "Abandoned you?" Nathan's voice was sharp with disbelief. "He didn't abandon anyone. You kicked him out." Mr. Thompson raised a hand, trying to regain control of the situation. "Please, let's stay focused on the matter at hand." Mom leaned back in her chair, a triumphant smile on her face. "I think we have a deal, Paul. The house for a quick, clean divorce." I couldn't believe this was happening. It felt like we were losing everything we'd fought for. "Dad, please," I pleaded. "You don't have to do this." But Dad just shook his head, a sad smile on his face. "It's okay, Emma. This is what I want." As Mr. Thompson began outlining the terms of the agreement, I felt like I was watching a train wreck in slow motion. How could Dad just give up like this? How could he let them win? The next hour passed in a blur of legal jargon and signatures. Before I knew it, it was done. Dad had signed away his home, his life's work, to the very people who had tormented him for years. As we left the office, Mom caught my arm. "I hope you're happy, Emma," she hissed. "You've torn this family apart." I jerked away from her, anger boiling up inside me. "No, Mom. You did that all on your own." Outside, the cool air did little to calm my racing thoughts. Dad looked exhausted but oddly at peace. Nathan wrapped an arm around my shoulders, sensing my distress. "I don't understand," I said, my voice breaking. "Dad, why did you agree to this? They don't deserve the house. They don't deserve anything from you." Dad turned to me, his eyes filled with a wisdom I'd never fully appreciated before. "Emma, sometimes the price of peace is high, but it's worth it. I'm free now. We're free." As his words sank in, I felt a mix of emotions wash over me, anger, sadness, but also a glimmer of hope. Maybe Dad was right. Maybe this was the only way to truly break free from the toxic cycle we'd been trapped in for so long. But as we drove home, a new worry gnawed at me. What would happen now? How would we move forward from here? And would Mom, Laura, and Alice really let us go so easily? Little did I know, the real battle was just beginning. 6 months after the divorce, I stood in front of our mailbox, staring at an envelope with Mom's handwriting. My hands trembled as I opened it, revealing a short note and a check. "Emma, the house sold. This is your father's share. Don't contact us again." "Mom!" I stumbled back inside, my mind reeling. Nathan and Dad looked up from their breakfast, concern etching their faces. "Emma," Nathan asked, rising to meet me. "What's wrong?" I handed him the note and check, watching as his eyes widened. Dad joined us, his face paling as he read. "They sold the house," I whispered, my voice cracking. "After everything, they just sold it." Dad sank into a chair, his shoulders slumping. "I never thought they'd actually do it," he murmured. A mix of emotions churned inside me, anger, sadness, and oddly relief. This was it, the final tie severed. Suddenly, Dad started laughing. It began as a chuckle, then grew until tears streamed down his face. Nathan and I exchanged worried glances. "Dad," I ventured, "are you okay?" He wiped his eyes, still chuckling. "I'm more than okay, Emma. I'm free, truly free." His laughter was contagious, and soon all three of us were giggling like children. As our laughter subsided, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. We'd weathered the storm together, and come out stronger on the other side. In the weeks that followed, we settled into a new rhythm. Dad threw himself into his long-postponed college classes, his eyes lighting up as he discussed literature and philosophy. Nathan's art career began to flourish, his paintings capturing the complex emotions of our family journey. And me, I found myself rediscovering joy in the simplest things. Family dinners filled with laughter, quiet evenings reading with Dad, lazy Sunday mornings with Nathan. The constant tension that had been my companion for so long began to fade. One evening, as we sat on the porch watching the sunset, Nathan turned to me with a smile. "You know, I've been thinking," he said, his voice soft. "Maybe it's time we start thinking about expanding our family." My heart skipped a beat. "You mean?" He nodded, his eyes twinkling. "If you're ready, I think I am too." I looked at Dad, who was beaming at us. "What do you think, Dad? Ready to be a grandpa?" He reached out, squeezing both our hands. "I can't think of anything I'd love more." As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. We'd been through hell, but we'd come out the other side stronger, more united than ever. I thought about Mom, Laura, and Alice. Part of me wondered how they were coping, if they regretted their choices. But I realized with a start that it didn't matter anymore. Their actions, their choices, they were no longer my burden to bear. My family was here on this porch in this moment. A husband who loved me unconditionally, a father who had found his strength, and the promise of a new life growing within me. We had weathered the storm together, and come out stronger for it. As the first stars began to twinkle in the twilight sky, I leaned into Nathan's embrace, my hand resting on my stomach where our future grew. Dad's gentle humming filled the air, a lullaby from my childhood that now held new meaning. We had faced our demons, confronted our past, and emerged victorious. The road hadn't been easy, but it had led us here, to this moment of perfect contentment. As I closed my eyes, breathing in the scent of home and family, I knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, we would face them together. We were survivors, healers, and above all, a family bound not by blood, but by love, respect, and unwavering support. The future stretched out before us, bright with promise. And for the first time in my life, I was ready to embrace it with open arms.